Have you noticed how the person who seems least invested somehow becomes the gravity in every room? The one who doesn't chase, doesn't over-explain, doesn't rush to be chosen. Suddenly everyone is measuring themselves against him. That's not luck. That's detachment. And detachment isn't absence. It's power. When you stop needing a particular outcome, you stop giving other people leverage over you. The second you stop begging for approval, the balance flips. You go from asking for attention to creating it. People are drawn to what they can't predict or control, and nothing is harder to control than a man who won't perform on command. Most people spend their lives auditioning, proving, justifying, explaining themselves to anyone who will listen. But ask yourself, how often do you give away your emotions like free samples? How often do you make it easy for people to read you, soothe you, press your buttons? When you detach, you interrupt that economy. You change the price of admission. Your attention becomes something they have to earn in curiosity, in uncertainty, in sustained effort. Mystery has value. Predictability is disposable. Understand this. Every social game runs on roles. Hero, victim, pleaser, rebel. The second you accept a role, you accept the script that comes with it. That script tells others exactly how to move you, what to say to flatter you, how to poke your insecurities, when to bait you into defensiveness. Detachment is ripping up the script. It's refusing to be cast. When people can't categorize you, they can't anticipate you, and that unsettles them. They will test you for it. They'll accuse you of being cold, arrogant, or cruel because you won't react on cue. But reaction is a leash. Detachment is the knife that cuts it. Think about how often you've handed over power with your feelings. Anger that tells them where you're wounded. Jealousy that reveals what you fear. Defensiveness that confirms their accusation. That's interest paid on a loan you didn't need to take. Detachment is refusing to subsidize someone else's control of your inner world. The detached man listens without confessing, observes without explaining. He lets silence do the work. In that silence, people project. They fill the blank with their hopes, their fears, their fantasies. And the more they project, the less they see you, and the more they expose themselves. Why do you need to be understood so badly? Why are you ready with a justification for every boundary, a reason for every decision, an essay for every period of quiet? That impulse is dependency dressed up as openness. Yes, appearances matter, but the one you should cultivate is poise, not need. Show that you can't be rattled and you instantly rattle others. Show that you can walk away and they start following. Freedom is magnetic. The man who does not depend on approval is the most dangerous kind. Flattery can't bribe him, rejection can't steer him, and guilt can't buy him. Don't confuse detachment with indifference. Indifference is decay, numb, lifeless, checked out. Detachment is discipline, focused, selective, sovereign. It's the art of deciding what gets your energy and what doesn't. A fortress doesn't swing its gates open for every passerby. It opens for those who qualify. Treat your attention the same way. In the marketplace of power, attention is gold, and most people throw it at anyone making noise. Detachment is your vault. Look around. The quiet man in the meeting often carries more weight than the one who fills the air. The lover who holds something in reserve becomes irresistible. The leader who doesn't snap respond seems deeper, steadier, more formidable. That's not an accident, it's design. Restraint reads as depth. Silence reads as knowledge. Detachment creates the impression of mastery, and over time, It turns into the real thing because you train yourself to watch before you act, to measure before you speak, to hold when others grasp. People will call you cold. Let them. They'll call you unfeeling. Let them. The person afraid of those labels will always be controlled by them. If you can stomach being misunderstood, you become ungovernable. Leadership requires that tolerance. Respect demands it. Real power insists on it. Detachment doesn't erase feeling, it harnesses it. Your emotions become tools you wield, not weapons turned against you. The enemy who shouts gives away his position. The detached man waits, lets others show their hands, and moves only when it serves him. In negotiation, that's leverage. In relationships, that's magnetism. In conflict, that's strategy. Better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both is less about cruelty than it is about options. Detachment gives you choice. Love given too quickly breeds contempt. Love earned slowly inspires loyalty. The same goes for your time, your attention, your approval. Scarcity raises value. Abundance lowers it. Be scarce, but intentional. So ask yourself, honestly, why do you hand out your inner world so freely? Why do you explain your dreams to people who mock ambition, your boundaries to people who don't respect them, your fears to people who collect weaknesses like trophies? Detachment refuses to barter dignity for understanding. It refuses to buy closeness with obedience. It refuses to play the puppet while someone else pulls the strings. The world rewards those who resist their first impulse. Most people are driven like weather vanes. Every insult, promise, or fear gusts them into a new direction. The detached man doesn't chase storms. He reads the winds and chooses his moment. That is why detachment is irresistible. It doesn't shout its value. It radiates it. It doesn't beg to be seen. It makes others strain to see. And when they finally do, it's on your terms, not theirs. Here's the truth no one likes to admit. Patience is terrifying when you're addicted to instant reassurance. That's why detachment feels impossible at first. You'll be tempted to send the paragraph text, to pick up the phone, to rush into a deal, to fill the silence with your own explanations. But the one who can afford to wait, really wait, always holds the advantage. Desperation leaks. It spills secrets. It accepts bad terms. Patience collects information. It tests boundaries. It spots patterns. Detachment isn't passivity. It's active observation with your hands off the panic button. Watch how easily most people give themselves away. One slight and they rage. One small rejection and they beg. One compliment and they melt. They're programmable. Push here, get that reaction. Pull there, watch them jump. The detached man studies these reflexes first in himself. He asks, where do I flare up? Where do I overshare? Where do I bend to avoid discomfort? Then he closes those openings. He chooses a new response. Silence where he used to explain, stillness where he used to chase, a measured no where he used to plead. Suddenly, the levers others used to pull don't move anything. And that drives people mad, because if they can't predict you, they can't manage you. If they can't read you, they can't map you. You become a question they can't answer, and the human mind hates open loops. It will work overtime to solve you. That's part of the magnetism. Silence is not empty. It's a mirror. When you stop defending yourself, you stop offering targets. When you stop explaining, you stop handing out ammunition. When you stop reacting, you force them to sit with themselves. This is why silence unnerves the insecure. They need you to fill the space with apologies so they don't have to face their own reflection. You will hear accusations. You're cold. You're manipulative. You're too distant. Understand the strategy. Those words are fishing lines designed to drag you back into the old script where you soothe, confess, and overshare. Don't take the bait. Detachment doesn't mean you never speak. It means you choose the timing and the terms. You respond when you have leverage, not when someone triggers you. You engage when there's mutual value, not when you're cornered by guilt. In love, this is the difference between fascination and fatigue. Consider the lover who spills every insecurity on day 3, who texts away mystery, who fills every quiet with panic. At first, they might seem honest, but what they're really doing is outsourcing self-regulation. Detachment keeps your center. You reveal yourself gradually, precisely, in proportion to trust earned. Not to play games, but to protect reality. Love that is easy to access becomes easy to dismiss. Love that is earned is guarded and respected. In business, the same rule applies. The negotiator who rushes to yes sacrifices terms he didn't even ask for. The leader who tries to be liked by everyone becomes a hostage to opinion. Machiavelli warned against that trap. If you crave universal approval, you'll trade stability for applause. Detachment frees you to make unpopular but necessary calls. It says, "I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to deliver outcomes." Oddly enough, that stance attracts more respect and better allies. Detachment also clarifies loyalty. Loyalty bought with flattery is loyalty that evaporates under pressure. Loyalty aligned with self-interest endures. Your job isn't to hypnotize people into staying. It's to build conditions where staying serves them and leaving has a cost. That's not cynicism, that's realism. People are moved by incentives. Detachment keeps you honest about that. Let's address a common fear. If I stop over-explaining, won't people think the worst? Some will. Let them. Those who need constant reassurance are telling you the price of admission to their approval. Self-betrayal. The moment you accept that price, you've taught them exactly how to move you forever. Detachment is refusing that deal. You are not obligated to litigate your boundaries in public. A boundary explained to death is a boundary on life support. State it once, calmly. Enforce it quietly. Repeat as needed. No essays required. Remember, not every invitation deserves acceptance. Not every accusation deserves an answer. Not every conflict deserves your presence. The detached man triages. He asks 3 questions before he spends a single unit of energy. Is this worthy of my attention? Is this winnable on fair terms? Is this aligned with my priorities? If the answer is no, he exits gracefully, firmly, without theatrics. That exit is a message. My attention is rare. Treat it accordingly. Here's a practical drill. For the next week, add 1 beat of delay to your reactions. Someone pokes at you? Breathe. Count to 5. Let the first wave pass. Decide whether a response serves you or only serves their agenda. If you do speak, cut your words in half. If you must explain, do it once, clearly, and move on. If you're tempted to chase, ask, what signal would I send by not chasing? Often, that signal creates more gravity than pursuit ever will. You'll notice another shift. Decision-making gets cleaner. Without the fog of need, your vision sharpens. You see who actually brings value, who respects limits, who rises when you raise the standard. Because detachment raises the price of admission. The uncommitted will grumble and drift. Good. That's filtration, not loss. The committed will adapt, step up, and meet you where you live. In clarity, not chaos. There's an irony to all this. The more detached you are, the more people want your presence. The less you insist on being understood, the more they try to understand you. The less you chase, the more they pursue. That's not magic. It's psychology. Humans value what is scarce, resist what is forced, and lean toward what they choose freely. Detachment aligns you with those currents instead of swimming against them. So, start small. Guard your words. Guard your time. Guard your emotional tells. Let your silence carry its own weight. And watch how rooms start to bend around your calm, how urgency stops owning you, how respect increases, how drama fades when it can't feed on your reactions. This is the training ground of power. Detachment doesn't shout, and it never pleads. It sits, it measures, and then when it decides, it moves. Most people don't realize how much energy they waste defending themselves. Every time you rush to justify a decision, over-explain a boundary, or apologize for having standards, you leak power. Detachment seals those leaks. It's the discipline of silence, not out of pride, but out of precision. When you stop trying to convince everyone of your intentions, you force them to reveal theirs. Because pay attention, how someone reacts to your quiet tells you everything about their character. The secure will respect it. The manipulative will escalate. The insecure will accuse. You won't need to guess who's who, they'll show you. That's the hidden gift of detachment. Clarity. It burns away the fog of other people's narratives. When you stop performing, when you stop explaining, when you stop cushioning everyone's feelings, you get to see reality unfiltered. Who stays when you stop entertaining? Who respects your boundaries when they're enforced without apology? Who values your no as much as your yes? Those are your people. The rest were only loyal to their access. Detachment isn't about isolation. It's about conservation of energy, of dignity, of time. Think of it like budgeting your emotional wealth. You wouldn't hand your credit card to strangers, yet most people hand out their peace of mind like coupons. Detachment says, my attention has value. My presence costs something. Not in arrogance, but in recognition of scarcity. Because what's easily available is easily ignored. What must be earned is remembered. Understand, you don't have to fight every battle. The detached man knows which wars are worth waging and which are just ego traps. Someone insults you? Silence exposes them faster than argument. Someone lies about you? Let time do what fury never can. Someone tries to provoke you into chaos? Step aside and let them perform alone. Not every stage deserves your appearance. Restraint isn't weakness, it's focus. You win by choosing when not to swing. You will be misunderstood for this. That's part of the tax. People who depend on your reactions will call your calm cold. Those who once fed on your explanations will call your quiet arrogance. Let them. Every accusation is just proof that your detachment is working. Because when they can no longer feed on your emotions, they starve on their own insecurity. And that's not your problem to solve. Machiavelli understood this better than most. He warned that appearances matter more than confessions. You don't owe anyone your raw interior to earn respect. You gain more by controlling what others see than by exposing everything you feel. Detachment is this principle made flesh. It lets you project composure even when you're still mastering yourself. And here's the paradox. It's through practicing this appearance of control that you eventually develop real control. Because each moment you resist reacting, your will strengthens. Detachment is the foundation of discipline. It's the space between feeling and action. The world worships impulsiveness. Speak your truth, react instantly, follow your heart. But those who rule themselves first, rule everything else later. The detached man feels deeply, but he doesn't broadcast it cheaply. He experiences emotion, then channels it. That's why he appears unbothered. Not because he doesn't care, but because he's learned to care strategically. In relationships, detachment is oxygen. It gives both sides space to breathe. Without it, even love suffocates. The one who's always available, always affirming, always reaching, soon becomes background noise. Desire withers where there's no distance. Detachment restores polarity. It keeps the dance alive. It's not manipulation, it's respect for the rhythm of attraction. You give, then you pause. You speak, then you hold silence. You let mystery do what words can't. This applies to leadership too. The boss who needs constant admiration becomes predictable and weak. The one who stays composed under pressure earns respect by scarcity of reaction. People mistake his restraint for wisdom, and often that perception becomes truth. Detachment, again, creates the illusion of mastery that eventually grows into actual mastery, because patience and observation reveal patterns that emotional turbulence never lets you see. Now here's a test of your detachment. How do you handle being misunderstood? Can you hold your ground when people twist your motives? Can you sit in the discomfort of false judgment without rushing to fix it? Most can't. They crave being seen as good, even if it means betraying their own clarity. But every time you trade truth for approval, you weaken yourself. Detachment is refusing that trade. It's valuing integrity over image. There's a phrase worth remembering. Access is earned, not owed. That's the mindset of power. You don't owe anyone entry into your thoughts, emotions, or plans simply because they demand it. You choose who gets a key, and even then, you can change the locks. Those who protest your boundaries the loudest are usually the ones who benefited from your lack of them. Let their noise confirm your decision. You'll notice, as you grow more detached, how manipulation loses its grip. The guilt trips, the sudden silences, the emotional outbursts. They all used to work because you felt responsible for other people's feelings. But detachment reminds you, their emotions are their strategy, not your duty. The manipulator thrives on chaos because it blurs your judgment. Your calm is the antidote. The quieter you remain, the quicker they reveal their hand. At first, they'll try harder, more provocation, more dramatics, more guilt. Let them escalate. Stay still. Eventually, they'll move on. Why? Because chaos can't control what won't engage, and the man who cannot be provoked cannot be possessed. That's the power Machiavelli would have admired. The calm ruler who governs himself before he governs anyone else. Detachment is your fortress. It absorbs the siege without crumbling. It lets the storm spend itself while you remain standing quietly, sovereign. And when the dust settles, it's you who decides who enters your gates, and who is left outside wondering how you became untouchable. Here's the paradox of detachment. The more you pull back, the more the world leans in. When you stop proving your worth, people start wondering about it. When you stop chasing, they start pursuing. That's not magic. It's psychology. Humans crave what they can't easily have. They value what feels earned, not what's handed out like charity. Detachment uses this truth as quiet leverage, but don't mistake it for cruelty. You're not withholding love or kindness to punish anyone. You're simply raising the price of admission to something valuable, your peace, your energy, your presence. If anyone takes offense to that, they were only interested in your compliance, not your company. Let them go. Detachment is the filter that separates the sincere from the entitled. The masses confuse connection with access. They think that to be close They must always be present, always available, always saying yes. But that's not closeness. That's dependence. Detachment lets you love deeply without being owned. You can care without collapsing. You can give without being drained. Real strength isn't in walls, it's in control. The ability to open and close your gates with intention. This is where most people fail. They want to be free but fear being alone. They want respect but crave approval. Detachment demands that you choose peace or popularity, respect or reassurance. You can't have both. The man who can sit with misunderstanding, who can let others mislabel him and stay centered, is ungovernable. People will say, "You've changed," and they'll be right. You've stopped being predictable. You've stopped being easy to use. Understand, detachment will cost you. It will strip away relationships built on guilt, validation, and habit. It will make others uncomfortable because your calm exposes their chaos. But the loss is an illusion. What falls away wasn't real stability. It was dependency dressed as connection. What remains will be fewer, but stronger. Relationships based on respect, not need. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Modern minds recoil at that idea. But what he meant was this: respect sustains power. Affection alone does not. Detachment allows you to hold boundaries without flinching. It teaches you to be respected, not consumed. Love without boundaries becomes servitude. Compassion without discernment becomes manipulation. Detachment keeps both pure. Ask yourself, when was the last time you allowed someone to earn your silence? When did you last resist explaining yourself to people who only listen to twist your words? When did you last hold your ground without defending it? Those are the real tests. Anyone can talk about strength, few can sit in it. So yes, detachment will make you seem colder to those who benefited from your warmth. But that chill is clarity. It's the temperature of self-respect. It's what happens when you stop trading dignity for comfort. You can't be everyone's peace if you keep setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. In the end, detachment gives you presence, the kind that doesn't need to shout or chase. It's the quiet gravity of someone who knows his worth, who walks away when respect is absent, who doesn't need to convince anyone of his value. And that, more than charm, more than eloquence, more than status, is what makes you truly irresistible. Detachment is not learned in quiet moments. It's forged in the storms. It's built when you want to explain yourself but don't. When someone pulls away and you resist the urge to chase. When silence feels unbearable but you sit through it anyway. Those moments are where control is born. Anyone can seem composed when life is easy. True detachment begins when your emotions rise, but your actions remain steady. The world will test you as soon as you decide to stay centered. People will push your buttons just to see if you'll break character. They'll guilt you, accuse you, provoke you, because your calm exposes their chaos. But remember this, every reaction you don't give is a piece of power you keep. Every silence you hold is a message. I choose when and how I engage. That's what separates the impulsive from the powerful. Most people mistake freedom for indulgence. They believe doing whatever they feel is independence, but that's just emotional dependence in disguise. Detachment is true freedom, the ability to act by principle, not by impulse. When you can say no without fear, wait without panic, and walk away without resentment, you've stepped outside the cage of reaction. You no longer move because you're pushed. You move because you've decided. Machiavelli would call this the foundation of sovereignty, ruling yourself before ruling anything else. The man who cannot be provoked cannot be controlled. The one who can walk away becomes the one everyone must adjust to. Detachment makes you unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. People cannot manipulate what they cannot read. They cannot undermine what they cannot access. But don't confuse detachment with coldness. It's not about shutting down emotions, it's about mastering them. You still care, but you care wisely. You can love someone deeply and still refuse disrespect. You can forgive without reopening the door. You can be kind without being used. That's not arrogance, that's balance. Detachment lets you give freely because you no longer give blindly. You'll find that the more detached you become, the more others test your silence. They'll say you've changed. They'll call you distant, selfish, aloof. Let them. They're reacting not to your coldness, but to your boundaries. The version of you they miss wasn't love, it was access. Detachment threatens those who feed on your reactions because it starves them of control. But to those who value respect and depth, your restraint will feel magnetic. Yes, detachment will cost you. You'll lose some relationships, comfort, and familiarity. But what you gain is far more valuable peace. You'll stop being pulled into every emotional storm. You'll see clearly who actually respects your space and who only loved your compliance. It's a purification process. The weak fall away, and what remains is rare. Connection based on mutual value, not dependency. And when the noise quiets, when the crowds thin, you'll feel something most people never do: stillness. That's not loneliness. That's self-respect settling in. The ability to sit alone without feeling empty is a form of strength most never reach. It means you are no longer defined by who approves of you, but by what you approve within yourself. Detachment doesn't erase emotion, it reorders it. Your love becomes deliberate, your anger becomes measured, your silence becomes strategy. You learn that not every truth deserves an audience, not every battle deserves a soldier, and not every feeling deserves expression. You choose your responses like a craftsman chooses his tools only when they serve purpose. In the end, detachment isn't about abandoning connection. It's about refining it. It burns away the neediness, the manipulation, the overexposure, leaving only what's real. When you stop being available to everyone, you become invaluable to the few who matter. When you stop explaining, you become mysterious. When you stop chasing, you start attracting. That's why detachment is irresistible. Because in a world of noise, composure is rare. In a world of fear, silence is power. In a world where everyone is begging to be seen, the one who can walk away becomes unforgettable. Detachment is not distance, it's dignity. It's the calm declaration that says, I belong to myself first. And that above charm, status, or beauty is what makes someone truly powerful.